Hello and welcome to the Eastman Sport Report, the one-stop shop for all Sacramento Kings and San Francisco 49ers news. I'm Max Eastman, joined by my lovely father, Stephen Eastman.
Hello, Max.
So, let me ask you, what exactly is the Eastman Sport Report?
That's a great question. So this is a father-son podcast where we talk about our passion of sports. And we have talk about news centered around the San Francisco 49ers and the Sacramento Kings.
Okay. So, one thing for the people at home, how did we come up with the idea for this podcast?
Yes, since this is our very first ever podcast. The story came from, so Max is a varsity basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of the assistant coaches on the team. So we were coming home from a road trip, and it doesn't matter where we were coming from, but it was an over an hour long road trip. So just the two of us in the car driving home. And part of it was talking around my radio voice. And I've never had the chance of using my radio voice. So we said, hey, let's make our own podcast.
Mm-hmm. What he's heard from many people and what I've heard from many people about him is that he has a radio voice. He's not the in-studio announcer going, who's ready for some Kings basketball? But more the Gary Gerald's.
More of that smooth talk. Mm-hmm. I had another coworker that said I have a smooth jazz microphone voice. Anyway, So hopefully you enjoy our voices as we talk through our podcast here, and hope you enjoy our fun banter back and forth, and enjoy our Eastman Sports Report.
So, first off, let's start with Kings news. So, the Kings, they went 2-1, I think it is.
Yes,
this week.
2-1 this week. One loss against the Rockets, 2 wins against the Milwaukee Bucks and the Lakers.
You're actually there at the Rockets game, which is fun.
Yes. Which the bad news is we've been to only 2 Kings games this year, which is pretty low for us. But when you're playing and coaching basketball in high school, varsity basketball, you don't have much time. So we've been to 2 Kings games this year, and we're 0-2.
So we might just be a bad luck charm.
Yeah,
which
so,
honestly we are.
Yeah, so maybe or so there's a couple things. Is it my new Keegan Murray jersey? I got a brand new Keegan Murray jersey this year. I wore it to both games, and it's 0-2. Or I think the Rockets game, the whole reason why the Rockets game turned was because Max left his seat.
Yeah, so I left my seat to go get a refill on my drink and use the bathroom. And that's when the Rockets came.
Kings were up by about 10 at that point.
The Rockets came all the way back after halftime.
He still wasn't back in the seat after halftime.
It's a long line, okay? Okay, so, yeah, anyway. So, I've been looking at some things, and a lot of people are saying that Kevin Huerter shouldn't start.
You want to get into that right away?
Yeah, I want
to go to the hard-hitting topics.
Yeah, I want to get to the hard-hitting topics. No,
Okay, so I have thoughts, but what do you think? Who do you think the starter should be?
There's no other choice.
There's not?
It's Keon Ellis.
Well, we got to bring Ellis Island into the starting lineup.
So who else do you have?
No, it's Keon Ellis.
Yeah. So
he's 6-0 as a starter, by the way.
He is 6-0 as a starter. He is perfect, obviously. He has a 114.9 defensive rating as a starter, and Kevin Huerter has a 117.8. The thing that you see is that you put Keon on like the other team's best guard. Mm-hmm. Because Keegan Murray guards everyone else.
He guards the best wing.
Mm-hmm. But Keon, whenever he's out there, he's always guarding the best guard.
Which frees up De'Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now it's De'Aaron we guard the best guard. Mm-hmm. Which De'Aaron does a really good job. So shout out to him. He does an awesome job. Love him as a defender. But if you could have Keon Ellis, go for it. The other thing I really love about the Keon Ellis, so the Keon Ellis moving in the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. Whenever Keon Ellis is in the starting lineup, Harrison Barnes plays better. Because Kevin Huerter takes shots. And they try to get Kevin Huerter shots. There's nothing wrong about it. He's a good shooter. If Kevin Huerter's out there, I totally would go to him too. But when you put Keon Ellis out there, he doesn't demand shots on offense. He gets shots, and he can make them. Nothing wrong with that. But he doesn't demand shots. They run the offense through, to try to get shots to Harrison Barnes, and Harrison Barnes plays much better. And if you paid him $18 million to keep Harrison Barnes, don't you want to get money out of it? Get some good return out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Keon, you bring Keon Ellis into the starting lineup. But there's an interesting thing, and so this came in from some other radio talk shows yesterday. I've talked about what does it do to Kevin Huerter? Because at the beginning of the season, Coach Brown was flirting with the idea of Duarte starting over Kevin Huerter, and he started him in the preseason, and he was kind of going back and forth. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just checking things out." Kevin Huerter played bad after that, like
real bad.
He got like totally like in his head, and he just lost his confidence or something. And so is that your starters might be better, and I totally think that Kevin Huerter coming off the bench, like the second unit needs more scoring punch, because when you bring Keon Ellis and Davion Mitchell, Trey Lyles can score.
Malik Monk.
And Malik Monk's your only scorer coming off the bench. Like if you bring Kevin Huerter as another scorer off the bench, that actually is a really good second unit. Mm-hmm. So then you run the offense because normally Sabonis is out there with him too, and now you got Monk and Huerter, where in the starting lineup you have Fox, Keegan Murray, and Harrison Barnes all going through Sabonis. That is I think it's a very good balance of things.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree with that. I don't have anything to really add on that. But
so if Kevin Huerter just mysteriously his knees still is out, and Keon Ellis goes and plays, and they go score 7-0 tonight against the Knicks. Mm-hmm. Does he just continue to have a knee problem for a couple more games? And we think you need to sit out a few more games, and let's get this knee really good.
Because we don't want to have your stats look bad.
Yeah, we don't want to you to go out there.
Monte's the stats guy.
We don't want to go out there and aggravate it anymore with the playoffs coming. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then if you go 7-0, 8-0 with Keon Ellis in the starting lineup, you might have to say, nothing wrong with you, Kevin, but the team's playing better with Keon. Which, shout out to Keon. That is an amazing job to go from an undrafted player, two-way, to earlier in the season, he got a 3-year minimum deal contract, but a normal contract, not a two-way contract.
Something that I saw is that Keon Ellis, in senior in high school, which normal NBA players average 30 points with normal humans in high school, he averaged 12. He averaged 12 points in high school, went to 2 years playing at a junior college, and then he earned a transfer to, I think it was Alabama, slowly making his way up until he gets signed as an undrafted free agent for the Stockton Kings, 2-way contract, and he just keeps building himself up. And now he's in a conversation for the starting spot on a 6th seed.
That's pretty amazing. But if you watch the games against the Bucks and the Lakers when he was starting recently, the defense for the Kings is actually starting to pop off the page. Keon deflects balls, gets steals.
He's just an animal out there.
Was it D'Angelo Russell? He was only scored 6 points because Keon was guarding him. I mean, he's a difference maker. And he's not a difference maker in scoring, but when you have a starting lineup of the other 4 guys, any one of those could go for 30 or, 40. Shout out to Keegan Murray having the highest scoring game this year, 47. So, you're
he's not the point here.
That's not the point. But, you've got 4 other players that could go off offensively. And when you have 5 out there, that's great because then no one can stop. You have to guard everybody. But I do think it's looking really good with Keon. I would not be upset with Keon starting.
Okay. So, I want to get into the next thing for King stuff is, where do you see them in the playoffs, or where do you see them facing against? Because they're currently the 6th seed at 38-27. Last year, at this time, they were 39-26, which isn't a lot, which is a
1 game difference.
Which is a 1 game difference. But the difference from last season is the West is so much better.
Oh, it is.
Because we were 3rd seed last year. And now we're all the way down to 6th.
With basically the same record. Even if the Kings had their record from last year 1 game better, you'd be a half game behind the Pelicans. You'd still be in 6th.
So, my question is, do you see the Kings moving up, or staying the same?
Well, if you got to go up, you got to go up to meet the Pelicans, beat above the Pelicans, maybe even catch up to the Clippers. I do think the next couple of weeks will be very interesting with the Pelicans. I was reading earlier how if you look at the Pelicans and they're healthy, which is C.J. McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion Williamson all actually healthy, which is they're. And first off, I hope hopefully the Kings never have to play the Pelicans in the playoffs because that's not going to go good for Kings. But the idea is if we can catch them and to get to the 5th seed, then you play the Clippers, which I think is a bad matchup for the Kings. If they stay at 6, which the funny thing is with the Kings were in the 3rd last year. And everybody's like, we want to get to the 6th seed to play the Kings. And you're like, yeah, well, if we get to the 6th seed right now, you're playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Cat's out. And I think he's out for a really long time with his meniscus tear. Yeah. So, you might be able to play him. And I really think that Minnesota and Oklahoma City with the Kings play really good at. But when you're only shooting for the 6th, you're in a virtual tie with the Suns. You slip up, now you're down into the play-in game, and you got to play extra games and win extra games to get into the playoffs. So, can we move up? Back to my original point of the Pelicans. The Pelicans have had an easy record, and over the next 2 weeks, they have some really tough games.
That's kind of contrasting with what I see through the Kings record because we play when we're recording this, we haven't played them yet, but we play the Knicks, the Grizzlies, the Raptors, the Wizards, and the Magic.
Which Magic are good this year.
The Magic are good this year,
they're their 5th seed in the East.
So, what I see through this next week and throughout the rest of the season is that we have a kind of easy road. The only teams that I'm scared of losing to are the Magic because they're good. The 76ers. I also see
they don't have Joel Embiid,
but they're still 3rd. What is it?
They've actually fallen down to 8th in the East.
8th.
They've fallen down to 8th.
Okay.
So,
maybe not. Okay. So, and then the other ones that I'm worried about are the Clippers, the Celtics, and the Pelicans, 3rd to last game of the season. Which, if you think about it, that could be a really important game. Because if the Pelicans have a really hard road, as we said, and the Kings have an easy road, but they're the Kings, so they're going to mess up eventually.
Unfortunately, we could go out and beat Magic or the Bucks and the Lakers, but we lose to the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, not fun. So, if the Pelicans play like how they should, which is about 500 through that, because they have a really tough road, and the Kings play about better than I think they will, that game is going to be really important. That could be for the 5th seed against the Clippers.
Well, then we play the Suns, who right now are virtually tied with the Kings. So you're those last the last 3 games there.
The last 2 games are really important.
Yeah, Pelicans and Suns could totally be. Now they need the last game of the season against Portland. So, you probably know your seeding by then. But, yeah, Pelicans and Suns, those could totally be differential games right there at the end of the season. Yeah. So, yeah. So as we're looking at this time frame here, again, our Eastman Sports Report, we want to try to keep you down to a 15 to 20 minute thing here to kind of bring in your short and sweet sports talk. We want to be able to give you sports talk and good information, good banter back and forth between us as the coach and the player. And so, do you want to go into predictions, Max?
Okay, so let's do 2 predictions. Let's say record-wise and then something that happens this week.
Okay.
So, for the end of the season, I see the Kings staying at the 6th seed. I think the West is pretty set. I see the Suns not moving up. I see the Mavericks not moving up. I might see the Warriors and Lakers switch around, or the Thunder and Timberwolves switch around from 2 to 3 and 9 to 10. But otherwise, I see everything kind of stable as where it is, because the West is kind of top-loaded, so I don't see much changing there.
Okay. So you say the Kings are going to be 6th seed. Do you want to give a record prediction?
I have to count now.
So they have 17 games left. They've won 38.
I'm going to say...
Don't take my number. I have it in my head. I already have my number. So what's your number?
I'm going to say about, what is it? I can't think right now. I'm going to say 45.
Ooh, 45. Okay. So
Because
that would be, 17 games left. If we're only getting 45 games, that means they're only going to win 7 more.
7.
So they're going to go 7-10 the rest of the way. Okay. So I'm going to predict, I would love to predict 50 wins, but knowing this Kings, they'd probably get to 49 wins and then lose to the Trailblazers in the last game of the season just because they can't get the 50th win because that's what the Kings do this year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to predict 49. I'm saying we're going to get to 49. I do think we'll stay in the 6th seed. I don't even know if I want to get to the 5th because you're probably playing the Clippers.
That's
but
scary.
I think Pelicans are playing pretty good too. So I think 49 and stay in the 6th seed.
Okay. And second prediction. So this is some meat and potatoes right here. So we were talking in the car on the way. Mm-hmm. And I said, and you were talking, hey, what predictions do you have? And I said, you know what? I think that Sabonis this week is going to break his double-double streak. I think that Domantas Sabonis will have about 50 straight double-doubles. He won't break Kevin Love's record.
Kevin Love's record is at 53.
Yes. I think that we're going to be so close. We're going to be at 50 wins. Or not 50 wins. We're going to be at 50 double-doubles. It's 3 more. But we can't do it. But it would be second all time, which is still really impressive, but I don't think we can do it. That's my bold prediction.
Okay, I disagree with it. I think he's going to go on and break the record. Well, technically, we were looking at this thing up here, and since the merger, NBA-ABA merger, the record for most consecutive double doubles is 53 by Kevin Love. Mm-hmm. But if you want to go to the all-time NBA record, it is Wilt Chamberlain at, I think it was
227. I looked up.
Yeah. So
I don't think.
Anyway, so
that's some stuff. That's some crazy Wilt numbers.
If you're second to Wilt, you're doing really good. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to continue. That's not my prediction. My prediction. Let's see here in the next week. So we want to do this a weekly podcast. So if we do this next week, so the Kings play 4 games. Mm-hmm. 4 games. Keon Ellis starts all 4 games.
Ooh.
There you go. That's my bold prediction. All 4. Keon Ellis will start all 4 games.
Okay.
Okay, check back next week and see if we're right.
Welcome back to the Eastman Sport Report. Now we're going to go into our 49er segment. And NFL free agency has been crazy, to say the least. Like Russell Wilson going to the Steelers, and then the Steelers trading Kenny Pickett to, who was it again?
Eagles. They went to the Eagles. Mm-hmm.
And Saquon Barkley going to his rival team, the Eagles, as well. That's a bunch of... We say this every year, but you can never predict it.
Yeah, free agency is weird.
So, pulling back to the Niners, I don't want to talk about Eric Armstead just yet because...
It's sad to see him go.
It's sad to see him go. But I want to put some spotlight on some of the other free agents that we've signed. So I pulled up some stats here. And so if we look at Malik Collins.
Okay.
So through his career, he has 25.5 sacks. 80 assist sacks. 1 forced fumble in his first year, which was in 2016. And then he has 1 interception and 6 yards for the interception. So, good job to him.
You got the 1. Good job. You got the ball.
Okay. So the Niners, ever since cutting or releasing Eric Armstead, they've been trying to load up on defensive talent because he's such a crucial piece that you have to load up on it. I also feel like the Niners saw their offense last year and are like, we scored 30 in almost every single game last season. I forget how much we averaged points per game wise, but we We scored almost 30 every single game. So why would you want to add stuff to that? The only reason why you could say that the Niners lost the Super Bowl is that we couldn't stop the Chiefs. We were up. We just couldn't hold them back.
Yeah, and so they signed Jordan Elliott as the other defensive tackle that I think is going to play a lot. So Jordan Elliott and Collins. The thing that I see that's most consistent is between the two of them, they make about the same amount of money as Eric Armstead. So you're basically taking two people and getting the same money worth of Eric Armstead. And Collins is, pretty stat-wise pretty comparable to Armstead. So, Collins is a starter, and Elliott is kind of your Bravo team, as they call him with the Niners. I think that's pretty good. And both of them are better at the run. Like, our run defense was not very good last year.
Don't want to talk about it.
So, I'm all for that. I'm curious to see how it goes. I mean, Chris Kocurek is an awesome defensive line coach. Even Eric Armstead in his farewell says, "Hey, you brought the best out of me. You're the best defensive line coach I've ever had," which is awesome. And I think he's like one of the highest paid defensive line coaches in all of
Well deserved.
Yes, well deserved. And I also think that the Niners are going to draft somebody on the defensive line in the draft, if not two. I'm very curious to see if Drake Jackson and Beal is their other kind of young player. He was a rookie this year. If either one of those will come in to do something next year. But I think they'll at least have somebody else in the rookie this year.
I think that the Niners' main focus this offseason is, of course, to bolster the defensive end, or defensive front line, which they're doing right now. But they also need to look at their secondary, because losing Hufanga in the middle of the season, or like near the end of the season, was devastating. Because Isaiah Oliver, he's great. I love him.
No, he wasn't.
Well, he was great sometimes.
I disagree.
But
he's the nickelback, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Not Jair Brown. Okay, because Jair Brown came in and replaced Hufanga.
Yeah, but no one can replace Hufanga, and you need more people like him. As hard as it is to find someone like him, you need to have people like him if you want to go out and win a Super Bowl. So I think in the draft, we're going to focus on the secondary more. Go get some good cornerbacks, go get some great safeties. Maybe focus on the offensive line, because you can never have a...
Well, the Niners have signed two players. I don't know how good they are. Chase Lucas got a 1-year contract that he recently did. He spent the last 2 seasons with the Detroit Lions. He was a teammate with Brandon Ayuk at Arizona. He's possibly a special teams guy. And then Isaac, I'm probably going to mess up his name, Yidam. He's a 28-year-old. He's played for 6 teams. Was it five teams? So you're like, he's probably not going to have, a great. He's more depth person. But as I look at the defensive back, so I totally agree on the safeties. I wonder what they're going to do with Gibson and was it Odom? No, not Odom. Ryan. Ryan's the guy that they signed in the middle of the season, and he came in and actually started in the Super Bowl at the nickelback position. Anyway, I think that so your prediction is they're going to focus on the second year. I think they're going to focus on offensive line and defensive line in the first couple rounds in the draft, which we got time before we get to the draft.
We got a lot of time.
Yes.
Okay, so
to wrap up for the week here, wrap up for our first episode here, something we do in the family is every night around the dinner table we go, hey, what's your high? So, Max, what's your high for the week?
Honestly, so I go to school, right? High school student. I have a bunch of friends there who are Chargers fans. So it was so funny. And I texted all of them, hey, dang it, I just blanked on his name.
Bosa?
No, not Bosa.
Oh.
Not.
Was it Keenan Allen left?
Yeah.
Keenan Allen.
It's like, oh, hey, by the way, Keenan Allen left. It was fun. I can't think of highlights right now.
Okay.
I forget who it was. Someone on the Thunder No. Someone on the Warriors posted Wemby. It was really good. I forget exactly who it was, but it was like some bench player. But he like climbed a ladder. Like Wemby is a giant. He's a tree.
Skinny tree, but he's a tree.
He's a tree. So you had to jump all over him. And it's a great dunk. So, but I for my high, it was lightly trolling, I guess you could say, my Chargers friends that I have.
Okay. So my high for the week here is only the second time this has ever happened. The Kings swept the Lakers. 4-0 against the Lakers this year. And to put the exclamation point on it was at the end of the third quarter, Sabonis got up and just manhandled Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
He just put him in the weight room and says, I'm going to manhandle you. And it was like there's a point where he kind of went around posting up on him. Or actually, he wasn't posting up too much. It wasn't a traditional post up, but he got the ball. He got out and he didn't really swing his elbows, but he hit him in the chest, kind of hit him a little bit in the face. No foul, and even the ESPN announcer says that's pretty close to that. Should be a non-foul, and just took it to him. Sabonis is just a beast.
There are some images that I see of just Anthony Davis on the floor,
just covering his face because he was in, but so that was my best thing for the week. That was my high for the week: sweeping the Lakers and Sabonis dominating Anthony Davis.
Okay, so recap for the week. I think that the Kings are going to go. What was it? 44.
45 wins.
45 wins this season.
Mm-hmm.
And Steven thinks the Kings are going to go 49. I think Sabonis is not going to be able to break Kevin Love's double-double record.
And I say Keon Ellis is going to start all 4 games this week. Let's see if I'm right. Next 2 hours, we could prove to be wrong on that first one. But that's why we make predictions for the fun of it, right?
And we say that the Niners are going to focus on secondary and defensive line in the draft.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We greatly appreciate you joining and listening to our Eastman Sports Report.
See you guys next time.